Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Lawal and today we are going to be taking a look at reactivity in Svelte. So right here with me is my trusted friend VS Code and I have my Svelte app already set up, styling with Tailwind as usual. And right now what this output is this, just a very boring looking counter. So now if I click on the increment and decrement button, nothing happens, nothing works. It's just plain and simple, static stuff. So let's add reactivity to this application so that when I click on these buttons, they do something. So I'm going to start by declaring a counter variable. So let counter is equals to 0. Then we can replace this 0 here with the counter variable. Now, if we check our browser, we should still see the 0, nothing changed, nothing much. We need to add the functionality for these buttons to increment and decrement the counter variable. And when they do that, it will reflect here in our DOM. So I can create two functions, increment and decrement. So increment here. And I can remove here, we don't need this. And what I'll do here is just increment the counter by 1. So increment is just going to be by 1. Increment, I'll be plus equals to 1. So this is pretty much the same thing as counter is equals to counter plus 1. So it's just shorthand. So now I can inject this my increments to this button here with the on click. So that anytime I click on that button, it runs this function. And when it runs this function, it would increment counter by 1 and it will reflect right here in the DOM. So I'll write my on click Svelte. This is how on click works with Svelte. And I can just put the function here, increment, like that. So now let's check it. If I click on the plus button, let's see what happens. Yay! It increments it now. You can see it increments it by 1 and it goes 5, 6, 7. But the decrements, the minus button doesn't actually do anything. So let's add functionality for that. So I'm just going to copy and paste this one under here. I'll change this to decrement. And I'll change this plus to minus. So pretty much the opposite. Now I will have to inject functionality to this button. So on click increment this time. So let's check this out as well. Now we can increment it here and we can decrement it here. Good, but you can see that we have an issue here. When we click on this minus, we can go to minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. This is not really an issue for this tutorial, but let's just fix out. So we can say if counter is equals to 0, we just return. So if counter is equals to 0, we won't run any other code inside this function. So this counter minus equals to 1 will not run if counter is equals to 0. So let's test that one out as well. So I can increment it here and I can decrement it. Well, I can see that when I get to 0, I can't go past that. That is nice. But this is not where reactivity stops in Svelte. We can also do things called reactive declarations. So let me give you a good example now. Let's say I want to show right here, just at the top of this counter here, to notify the user that using this button that whether the counter value is even or odd. So if it's an even number, I'll show the counter is even. If it's an odd number, I'll show the counter is odd or the number is odd. So how can we do that? Well, we can do something like this. Now, if you've never used this before, let me prepare you. It looks a bit weird, but once you use it a couple of times, you would get used to it. So it looks just like this. This right here, this $sign with this is what they call a reactive declaration. So now we can declare a variable here. I can say counter message will be equals to, I want to use a ternary operator here to assign two different types of string under the condition of something. So I'll say if counter, countl, modulus 2 is equals to 0, then I'll say counter is even, else I'll say counter is false. Basically this. So what is this? What does this mean? Okay, so we're having an issue here. I think my question mark here, so sorry. So what does this counter modulus 2 equals to 0 mean? Well, this is pretty much checking if counter is an even number by it's going to check the remainder of counter divided by 2 if it's equals to 0. So if it's equals to 0, that means it's an even number, meaning that 2 divided by 2 does not have any remainder. The remainder is 0. 4 divided by 2, remainder is 0. 6 divided by 2, remainder is 0 as well. Well, if it's an even number, like 3 divided by 2, remainder is 1. So that means it's going to fall to the counter is an odd number. It's odd, not false, odd, sorry. That means it's going to fall to counter as odd. So if this the remainder of counter divided by 2 is 0, that means it's even. If it's any other value, that means it's odd. So we can log this out right here with an h1. We can just say counter message. And we can ask our classes here as and I'll say text for Excel white and text center. Now if you check this, you see it will work. Now it says counter is even because 0 is even. And if I increment it, it says odd even, odd even, odd even, odd even. Now that works perfectly, but why does it work? I know that's the question you should be asking yourself. Well, I don't know if you understand the way use effect was, but I don't want to bring React into this. This is Svelte, and let's forget about React. So what it's looking at is looking at the variables here inside this declared inside this declaration. I mean, looking at the variables. So how many variables do we have here? We have only one. This counter. So it gets to look at this counter, and anytime this counter changes, it's going to every time counter changes. That way it knows that something has happened and this needs to be rerun. So it's going to it automatically knows the variables that are inside there, and it runs this function, not this declaration. It runs this every time that variable changes. So if I add multiple variables inside here, it will run it anytime any of those variables change. So that's how it's able to know that it needs to rerun this when we've incremented or decremented. We also have things called reactive statements. So reactive statements are basically we can add like if statements there. So we can say if, so we can use this with if statements. I say if counter is equals to true, I can say alert counter is true. So now we can only run this when counter is equals to 2. So let's check this out. 1, nothing runs, and 2, the alert shows. And we also have, you can also put this in a block, meaning that I can use this here, with a block like this, and inside this block, I can have, multiple lines of code. So if you need some sort of code that you can't just put in one line like this, you can just put it in a block like this, and you can put have multiple lines of code, and they will all be inside this reactive block. So that's basically how reactivity works in Svelte, and you can see how easy it is compared to some other programs, if you know what I'm talking about. So thank you for watching. If you have any criticism, I'd love to hear them. I'm just having a channel, and your criticism means a lot. The last time I got one, I was actually very happy. Was able, see things that he didn't like and pointed them out, and I'll try to do it every single time. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I'll be dropping more videos from now on. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.